Hello everyone, Ashlyn Giza YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about Judy Garland. I've always been a fan of Wizard of Oz. I used to watch the movie all the time when I was a little girl. I would watch it on replay actually. I have a lot of stuff that are Wizard of Oz. Let me see if I can find the button. Well, I don't see my Ruby Slivers button on the curtain, but I've showed it to you guys before in my video called Buttons, but so there's her ruby slippers up there. Um, Here's a Wizard of Oz poster. I actually have a Wizard of Oz game too. So as you can see, I have always been a fan of Wizard of Oz and Judy Garland. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things that happen with Judy Garland, and here are a few of them. I'm going to read them to you guys. Judy Garland was overbeared by her stage mother, and she was born in Minnesota, June 10th, 1922. Her original name was Frances Ethel Gum. Her mother wanted to have an abortion because it was her third child, but her doctors fortunately talked her out of it. So her mother didn't do well in the show business, so she pushed it on Judy to do good in the business career, in the movie business career. She moved to California when she was 4 years old, and she remembers her mom being the real wicked witch, quote unquote. So this is stuff that I got off the internet, and I guess somebody quoted that she called her mom the wicked witch. Her parents ended up divorcing, and the only reason why her father married her mother was to improve their song dance duo. Her father was bisexual, and there's stories of her father that he would make passes on the male ushers and the girl students at a family-owned theater. She always remembered her parents arguing, and she signed with MGM in 1935, shortly after her father died. She was forced to look childlike. When she was 13 years old, that's when she signed with MGM. And she, for the film industry and for the Wizard of Oz, she had to diet constantly and have her breasts taped down. Her mother had no issues with the studio abusing her this way, because she just wanted her to be famous and everything, and that's it. So Louis Mayer of MGM would refer to Judy as my little hunchback. He would fondle her left breast and tell her to cover up his actions. He would say Judy sang from the heart. So that's why he tried saying that he put his hand on her chest, was to say that she sang from the heart. And when she confronted him about the grabbing her chest, he would lie and say that he just felt like he was her father. He just felt like she sang from the heart. It was nothing, not a big deal to him, but she was basically fondled by that creep of a guy. And so yeah, like I said, when she confronted him, he would lie. He forced Judy to wear a tight corset so she could fit into her Wizard of Oz dress. She had to smoke and do drugs while filming Wizard of Oz. She was only 17 years old when she did the Wizard of Oz, but she had to pay a hefty price because she had to go on an extra careful diet, because the people were so worried about the film becoming such a good hit that they wanted to make sure that she was on a strict diet. So with that being said, she would only eat salads and stuff like that, was told to only drink black coffee and smoke around 80 cigarettes a day. And she was given lots of antidepressants and lots of stimulants to keep going for the film Wizard of Oz. Some of the people were saying that some of the people used to take her food off her plate when she was allowed to eat. So yeah, she was encouraged to live off black coffee and only smoke 80 cigarettes a day. So when she was 19, she married a band leader. Her mother and others didn't like it because the public would stop seeing her as a little girl. But Judy didn't care. She married her first husband in June 28, 1941. Soon after, Judy got pregnant. In 1944, the divorce became final. Judy got married again to her second husband, to Vicente Manelli, in June 15, 1945. 20 years age difference between two of them. Soon after, Judy got pregnant and then gave birth to Liza Minnelli. Um, so, okay. So those two ended up getting divorced. And then another thing is she found another one of her husbands with a male employee. And after she saw that, she tried to commit suicide. She tried slitting her wrist, but Vicente stepped in and saved her before she could actually die. But she and him ended up getting the divorce in 1951. And then there was a third husband, Sid Loff. He gambled all of her money away, and they were married in 1952. And he was her manager at one point. But like I said, he gambled all her money, took everything she was worth, and then just rode it out until they basically didn't have a relationship anymore. So he used her, in other words, basically. That's what I get when I read what I wrote down from the internet and different videos that I've watched. So number 11, her fourth husband, she married in 1965 in Las Vegas. Not long after their marriage, Liza Minnelli found her husband in bed with Judy's husband, and then they divorced in 1967, Judy and her husband. Soon after the incident with Liza Minnelli's husband and Judy's husband, Liza, I guess, supposedly started shunning her mother due to the drugs that she used to do, and due to, basically neglect and abandonment, because she always made Liza Minnelli take care of the children and the housework, and Liza had to watch her try to commit suicide many times, and be on these drugs. So, and then another thing is she got fired off the show Valley of the Dolls. Ben Cerf wanted to write her autobiography, but or have her do an autobiography, but she left and never completed it. She ended up becoming homeless, and in 1968 she had to rely on her fans, and she died shortly after she married her fifth husband. He found her dead in their bathroom in June 22nd, 1969, and she died of an accidental overdose. There was over 20,000 people at her funeral, and that's really sad, considering that, she was a hard worker at one point. She did have a rough life, and these men that she was with used her for what she was worth, and then 20,000 some people isn't that really that much when you're really famous like she was, from Wizard of Oz and everything, and from, all the hard work she once did. That's something when I heard that and read about that, before I wrote it down and said it to you guys, that's something I thought about. That's really sad. She did a lot of hard work, and had a really tough life, and ended up being homeless. But so she was homeless, but then once she dies, then over 20,000 people came to her funeral. But yet, where were those over 20,000 people when she was homeless and definitely needed help? I mean, after reading about this and watching some videos, the woman definitely needed help. She definitely needed support. She definitely needed friends and family. So she needed rehab, obviously. So that's all my opinion, but that's some stuff that I read and I wrote down to share with you guys about Judy Garland. She didn't have the easiest life. Um, Although she made some really bad choices and didn't do very well with her children, I'm still a fan of her because I loved that movie Wizard of Oz. I still do. I've always been able to connect with it, and I actually connect with her somewhat because although I didn't make the same decisions about my children, and I'm not an addict. I once was a drug addict, and I did make a few bad choices about certain men that I was with in my past. So if you go back to my old videos, you can see that I kind of had a crazy life, a little bit like hers. Only I wasn't famous, and I didn't, I didn't do drugs and as much. I didn't make as much bad choices as her, I would say, but I still can connect with her in some ways as far as I went through some similar situations that she did, and I was molested too and stuff like that. So some of it I can understand, but she just did have a crazy life. If you guys don't know who Judy Garland is, watch the movie Wizard of Oz. Um, Google a little bit about her and her daughter, Liza Minnelli, and then you'll find out who she is. Also, ask your parents if you're a bit younger, on the younger side. They'll tell you some wild stuff about all of that. So, anyways, I thought I would do a video on that, and I will be on with another life topic. Thank you.